and they were the first to have recorded highlife music. In fact, they were one of the very early proponents of the highlife genre. Now, the day that we first blew the white man's trumpet, strummed his guitar, the day that we first fingered the black and white keys, highlife got its stars. The great stories told by KJC and Ampedu, the great lessons learned from E.T. Mensah and Konimo, the footprints left by Usibisa on the globe. The great feat achieved by all these great musicians. These got the high life deeply etched in Ghana's music scope. But there have been a lot of talk about which country really owns high life. Is it Liberia? Is it Nigeria? Is it Sierra Leone? Is it Ghana? Because at a point in time, they've all laid claim to the genre. Thankfully, this controversy will soon end because UNESCO is considering listing high life as Ghana's intangible cultural heritage. What does it mean? Well, we're speaking to the people that matter in this topic today right here, seeking some education on showbiz A to Z. And already I have right here all the big men seated. Some of them will be joining us on phone. So I have right here with me Daddy Bosco. Daddy Bosco is like an industry, let me say, you do everywhere.
It is boss.
But for this, for the purpose that we gathered here today, he is representing the Ghana Culture Forum. He's a member of the Ghana Culture Forum. Also right here, still here with us is GMJ, baby. I still have some questions for him. And I have a legendary high life artist right here in the studio. He's done it all, he has a soothing voice. Sometimes he sings with a very light voice, Dede, Ama, and all those songs. Then there are times that he will do some palongo for you to dance and Wagbejeke. That is my 16. You know that. His song is our 16 for showbiz A to Z, Wagbejeke. And he's done so much for the industry. Played across the world. He is living the game. Also right here with us is Amandeba. Uncle, good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I love that voice. Still here with us is Uncle Ken, who is a broadcaster, and he's dealt with music for a long time, Also, even managed some artists, Nana Redu, who sang the song I played earlier.
Kwame. Are you paying royalties to Amanziba
for using
his song?
Oh, Uncle Ken, later on. Uncle Ken, Amanziba, please don't mind Uncle Ken for now, eh?
There's not going to be any occasion that I will ignore him.
You are in trouble.
We will see you in chambers. We will see you in chambers.
You see, people like Kwame, always they talk, say, oh, Charlie, Ghanaian artists for make money.
Yes.
For make money.
Yes.
And when you finger them, then
because today we're not talking about copyright and
you see, it is a very nice way of rationalizing the real subject that you have brought up.
But people are saying they are waiting for the main conversation.
we too, we are saying we want to talk about this.
Philip, can we take GMD away? Joy 99.7 FM. Also right here with us is Christopher Wecha, who is Programs Officer for Culture at Ghana Commission for UNESCO. He's also right here with us. Yeah. Now we're waiting to speak to the Executive Director of National Folklore Board, Benis and Kuma, also on the line, and ethnomusicologist Professor John Collins also here. Now, even before we get deeper into the conversation, let me start with you, Amanziba, who is a high life artist and has plied his trade in this high life game for a long time. How do you assess high life so far? You've been in this game for a number of years. If you look at what we're doing now in terms of music in Ghana and how people are consuming high life, what do you make of the genre, your assessment so far?
First of all, let me just say greetings to everybody who is listening, the whole country, because of course the music can never be taken out of the equation when it comes to our cultural setting, even political setting. You need you need music always, all the time. And some of the questions that you put to us, the practicing musicians, I think they should be put to you as well. Because you see, you are licensed, you are the fourth estate, right? Of the realm, aren't you? So you have every right to go poke your nose into everything that you think is right or wrong about the industry. Because if you ask me about my assessment, it means that you know, we have a code that is not established, but we know that we are artists. We don't really criticize one another.
We don't say so much.
Exactly. So I'm sure you will be the best person to answer. But let me attempt to, you know, just
Please attempt first.
What I think is, collectively, we seem to have failed. You see, we normally trivialize our heritage, everything. The Chinese can make our kente, they can do anything at all with our own heritage, and then we sit in silence and then keep admiring them. Oh, Charlie, I'm a bomodin. Oh, they are doing well. Where we know that we have the thing and must be developed here. It's just like music. When we had high life, right from the onset, look, it affected everybody along the coast, even to all the way to Zaire and Congo and those places. Most of the elements that they play, and even take our big stars on African continent, the late Fela Nicola Pokuti, Miriam Bakiba, almost Hugh Masekela. They were here. And Huey loves high life to the hilt. I remember we met at Elmina when we were celebrating the abolition of slave trade centenary. Huey was here. And then he met me and says, Charlie, Amanziba, what are you doing with high life? I said, oh, Huey, I'm trying. Don't you hear some of my stuff? He says, yeah, but you're not trying enough, because this is something that is iconic. Manu Dibango has said it to most of our artists he met. Manu is gone, Yeah. You see, he will ask you, he says, they say when he meets them, he says, you people, what are you doing with your high life? Listen to some of the high life songs that, what's his name? This Cameroonian.
Richard Bonner.
The other time, I saw a Cuban group.
Yes.
Playing
Mandecan Cubano.
Playing Jedu Bleambulis, Cigarettes Man.
Yeah.
No, it tells you that at every point in time, it's not, I don't think it's complacency. I think it is that kind of lethargic feeling that people think that, oh, everything is cool. Then we actually come to the realization that people are actually profiting from what we did. So my assessment, don't look at it as it's bleak. It's very promising, but I'm saying that until we put our heads together, listen, every aspect of our culture is intellectual.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, people think that, oh, Charlie, when you go to the seaside and they are pulling the net and stuff like that,
The songs they sing.
They are composers. You will be amazed of what, but you see, because the entire structure of music education, and especially what belongs to us, has not been deformalized. It's so strict. You understand? Once I remember, I went to see Professor Nketia at the university because I needed a letter of introduction. And Professor John Collins met me on the way and asked me, are you coming here? I said, no, sir, I've met you know, because you would not want to produce about 1,000 of Beethovens here. Everybody is doing classicals and stuff like that. But do you know how classical our local songs are, especially the folklore.
Yeah.
Man, so if we would not take it, I think we've been offered an opportunity. Even if it has not been done, at least it has been officially announced
Yeah.
that High Life will be enlisted on the intangible, whatever
Yeah.
they call it, list.
Yeah.
Reggae did it, I think, about 3 years ago.
More than 3 years ago. Yeah.
You see the difference between us and the other practitioners
Yeah.
out there?
Rumba as well.
Listen, they stick to it. I'm not saying that there should not be,
Varieties,
exactly. You can have, like we have High Life, we have the various,
Types.
Bugger High Life,
Bugger
Hip
High
Life,
Life,
and whatever. And this guy even went
Yeah.
into doing Hip Dia. I remember. So he even ventured into India. You understand? We swim in all oceans, but
Great.
ours, it looks like we don't really want to fish from our own ocean. We want to eat fish from maybe the same kakadia man or small noni je take here. You understand? So that has been the bane of
Wonderful.
the Ghanaian problem. I think, as we go along,
Yeah.
people, by your practice, everybody will know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And then we haven't relented. Since
Exactly.
we became conscious Ghanaians to play what we think is Ghanaian, we've never relented. And I'm hoping that in itself affects others too who
Sure.
are standing by. Because I'm shocked when I meet people who I think should not be able to appreciate some of the things that we do, and then,
They love it.
they really love it. So,
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amanziba. 055111197 is the number to reach us on WhatsApp. Yeah, if you have any thoughts, please send them now. Let me speak to the program officer for culture, Ghana Commission for UNESCO. And just last week, we were at the TGMA industry mixer where Ama Nekwe Tete mentioned that UNESCO was just close to listing High Life as intangible cultural heritage. Let me ask Chris, what does it mean?
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here with these, great people.
Yeah.
And listening to Amanziba. I love the quote he made. He said, "Every aspect of our culture is intellectual."
Great.
It's a very profound statement, and I want to maybe set the record straight.
All right.
What my boss said, because I believe that this is what has engendered
The conversation.
Some reporters said that she said UNESCO has listed High Life as intangible culture.
That is misinterpretation.
Misinterpretation.
They misquoted her.
Yes.
Because myjoyonline.com said to be listed.
To be listed.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's the point. That's what she said. That, UNESCO, Ghana is.
can I interrupt you
All right.
just for a second?
Yes, please.
I think that they may not be totally wrong. It is optimism. They are filled with optimism.
They are being optimistic,
The excitement is
being hopeful.
Great. We will take it like that.
No, but Amanziba, that's pre-ejaculation.
Uncle Francis Doku, are you listening? And I know I ready things for here. Please continue.
Okay, so what it means is that, and we are talking within a context
Yeah.
of a certain, legal instrument,
Yeah.
international legal instrument. That is the 2003 convention.
Yeah.
And, the 2003 convention deals with safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. And you can only benefit from this convention when you are a state party to the convention, when
Okay.
you have ratified or acceded to this convention. And Ghana did that in 2016,
Okay.
with a couple of conventions, the 2005 and other conventions that we will discuss maybe another time. The purpose of this convention is to safeguard intangible cultural heritage.
All right.
And what is intangible cultural heritage? And the convention defines what intangible cultural heritage is. Maybe I will define it what the convention is saying, so that we can know where High Life is placed in this
Yeah.
context. Okay. So it said, for the purpose of this convention, intangible cultural heritage means the practices, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills, as well as the instruments, object, artifacts, and cultural spaces associated therewith that communities, groups, and in some cases individuals recognize as part of their culture. Then he's in Article 2, Clause 2, he's giving example. They are giving examples of what intangible cultural heritage is: oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, and festive events, knowledge, practices concerning nature and the universe, and traditional craftsmanship. Now, as a country, we first of all need to have a register. We have to have a register or an inventory of certain intangible cultural heritage that we think belongs to us.
Okay.
Or we think defines us as a people. Okay. So until we have that register, that we have categorically mentioned high life in it, that this is a national heritage that we identify as belonging to Ghana. Until that, we will not be able to nominate it to UNESCO for UNESCO's inscription on the intangible cultural heritage list.
Okay.
Which 2 years ago, knowing that that is the prerequisite for us to consider any intangible cultural heritage, and we have a lot of them here, we had to apply to UNESCO for international assistance, for them to give us some money for us to have an inventory or a register where we have a list of intangible cultural heritage. So Folklore Board was leading that, and Madam Benny is online, or maybe she will speak later on and then explain what went through. So we have the register now, and High Life has been included in the register.
Okay.
So it's a process.
Okay.
Now, if you want to nominate a particular element for inscription, you first of all need to prepare a nomination dossier. The dossier is the information you are sending to UNESCO justifying ownership. You know, when you, in your opening statement, you talked about Liberia and Nigeria and all that.
All laying claim at
Yes.
a point in time.
We have to establish that Ghana owns High Life. If we are not able to establish that fact based on our historical, culturally, contextually, the knowledge system that is associated with High Life, then we'll have issues inscribing that. So once we're able to have a nomination dossier that, indicates that Ghana is the owner of High Life, then we are good to go, because we will not have any contestation.
Do we have that dossier now?
Maybe Daddy Bosco will speak to that. So, because he was
He nodded his head
Okay,
nicely.
before I come back to you, let me come to Daddy Bosco, who is a member of the Ghana Culture Forum. They also worked on this whole UNESCO listing to list High Life as intangible heritage. So please take us through
Good
that.
afternoon. What it is I think first and foremost we need to give credit to Mr. Diallo, Abdurrahman.
Yeah.
Because while he was in Ghana during the time, anytime he met me, once he realized that I worked with the union, he would ask me, you people, don't you know in Congo I helped them to get Roomba listed? So it was a conversation, an ongoing conversation, till one day he suggested, him and Carl, that we work with the Folklore Board, because Ghana Culture Forum is a civil society organization. We don't have any powers to do these things. The Folklore Board is the state body mandated to do this. So that's what led to the first conference. You remember we held a conference 2 years ago. That was like the kickoff conference where we all agreed that where we've reached, we need to start the process. And that's how come subsequently Amanziba, I think, Amanziba will tell you who were on that video. You see that dossier you're talking about. Folklore Board presented it last year. And what they need to do now is present supplementary information by the end of September. Once that information goes, because the deadline is October, Then I'm sure when they meet in Paraguay or something, they will look at it. But then the inscription, the listing will be done next year because there's a whole calendar. And the calendar is about 3 years from you start.
Okay.
So if you check from when we started, next year will be like the third year. What happened is Folklore Board presented 2 applications. You know the ongoing conversation about the ownership of Kente.
Kente, so one for Kente.
So they presented one for Kente and one for High Life. And then when push came to shove, you can't have 2. So then it was a decision that was taken at, I believe, at the highest levels of our tourism and state apparatus. And they decided that let's push Kente. So it's very likely in December Kente will be listed. Then next year,
ahead of High Life,
we will celebrate High Life. Yeah.
Wow. Joe 99.7 FM. Don't worry, I'll come back to you again because I have a number of questions to ask you. 05511119997 is our WhatsApp line. You can also send us a message right now and then tell us what you think about this topic. In the meantime, we have on the phone line Professor John Collins, who has been writing a lot about Ghanaian music. He's been documenting a lot of our music genres. He's been a music journalist, a lecturer, and he has helped, really contributed greatly to our Ghanaian music culture. Let's speak to him now and then find out more from him. Prof. Hello, Prof.
How are you?
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
I hope you're doing well.
Oh, I'm just recovering from malaria, actually, but otherwise I'm fine.
Oh, so sorry about that, sir.
It happens. It's the season.
Great one there. Good to have you. It's great having you here to help us with some education on High Life. Anytime we have you on radio, it's about setting the record straight. So one of the most difficult questions I hear people ask is, what is High Life? And I've gone online, I've read your High Life Time 3 trying to get a specific definition for High Life. In simple terms, if you are to define High Life to the ordinary man on the street, how would you define High Life music, sir?
I would say that it's a music and a dance that emerged over the last 100 years due to a sort of fusion or combination of African musical elements, European musical elements, and African American and Caribbean elements. And it was born in Ghana, or the name was invented in Ghana, but there isn't just one type of High Life. Right from the very beginning, there were 3 major types of High Life. I'm talking about 100 years ago. There was a High Life played by brass bands, High Life played by guitar bands, and High Life played by ballroom dance orchestras. But there are commonalities. Certain rhythms were used in High Life. One is a very popular rhythm today. I think the youth call it Jama. We used to call it the High Life rhythm. Some people will even call it a calypso rhythm. And then we have the triple offbeat, which is typical of many Ghanaian High Life songs, and is related to the Sitchi rhythm, actually, of the Ashantis. The Ashanti Sitchi rhythm is another place where you find this rhythm. That rhythm is very unique to Ghana. And then we have rhythms based on the Adwa. So these are the type of rhythms found in High Life. But basically, it's I would say a West African transcultural music, which was first developed in Ghana as a distinct genre, and then spread to many other African countries during the 1930s and 40s.
Wonderful.
Particularly Nigeria.
Okay, so before High Life, we had Adaha and Osibisaba. Who named the genre High Life? Who named it?
I can only tell you what I was told. I wrote this book about E.T. Mensah when I was very young, in the 70s. And E.T. took me to his older brother called Yebo Mensah, who was running the Accra Rhythmic Orchestra in the 1930s. I was asking that same question to Yebo maybe 50 years ago. And he said what happened was that High Life wasn't created by the ballroom dance orchestras. What happened was that High Life was already in the system, but under various names, as you mentioned, Sidi Saba, Adaha Music. There was another one called Gome, although that's slightly different. But there were a number of these sort of music musics floating around in Ghana at the time. And the ballroom dance orchestras of the Ghanaian elites decided gradually to start playing some of this street music. But there was no name for it, even though there were indigenous names for it. So what, according to Yeboah Mensah, the poor people in Accra and Cape Coast who couldn't get into these expensive programs, because it was for the rich, you see, the ballroom dance orchestras, you had to wear a top hat and tie and all this evening gown. So the poor people would gather outside the clubs to enjoy the music that would come from inside the building, and they would hear it on the pavements. And then they heard their own street songs being played by high-class ballroom dance orchestras. So Yeboah told me that what happened was that the poor people called it the high life. So that then became high-class life music. And that then became the generic name gradually in Ghana for all the different varieties of popular music, homegrown popular music. So even
Great.
we don't use the word CB Saba. Nkrumah himself, back around about 1960, he wanted to get the Ghanaians to change the name High Life back to CB Saba, which is the old fancy name for it. And most people agreed theoretically, or they agreed to the suggestion, but it was too late. High Life had already slipped out of the bag. It was already popular in Nigeria and other countries. So there was an attempt to indigenize the name, go back to the older name, CB Saba, but it wasn't successful. It was too late. The music was already known in the world as High Life.
Great one there.
Yeah.
Great one there. But some people have adduced as reason the fact that the cruise sailors from Liberia met some of our musicians right here and taught them the two-finger picking technique as a reason they lay claim to High Life as theirs. Is there any truth in this?
Well, it wasn't High Life. You see, the crew people did develop distinct ways of playing the guitar on the high seas in the 19th century. Crews were recruited on board a lot of steamships and sailing ships by the Europeans and Americans. So they picked up the Spanish guitar, but they didn't use the Spanish way of playing or picking the strings. They used the typical African one, which is, you can still see it if you look at King Ayasoba, the way that the Africans play the lute. It's a two-finger technique. And that's what the crew people spread down the West African coast. But it wasn't High Life. It was a sort of an element of High Life. And so in Ghana, it was absorbed into CB Saba music. And in Sierra Leone, it was absorbed into the Maringa style. In Nigeria, it was absorbed into the Juju and native blues styles. So what we can say that the crew people didn't invent High Life, but they created a very important ingredient of High Life, which is a specific way of playing the guitar. And they introduced it to Ghana, around about 1900. But of course, the Ghanaians, once they got hold of this style, they then developed their own styles of playing, like Yam Ponsa, Adonson, and so on. So this is how it happened. But it's not that the Liberians invented High Life. Don't forget, back in those days, Africans were there were no colonial borders. People were walking and fishermen were going between people's countries. There was a lot of ethnic blending going on in West Africa in terms of music. So crew people would come to Ghana and even settle in Ghana around the lighthouse in Accra, and vice versa. Or Ghanaians would go to Nigeria and vice versa. There was a lot of cultural fluidity in the system.
Good
so
one
many
there.
Countries sort of contributed to High Life, but it crystallized in Ghana.
Wonderful.
As a distinct genre.
Wonderful. And thankfully, UNESCO is considering listing High Life as intangible cultural heritage. I know you've been very instrumental in this. What role have you played in this whole thing?
Well, it was like Daddy Bosco was just telling you. We had some meetings about 2 years ago. So I came, I gave a sort of the historical background because, in fact, at one point I'd had to go to Nigeria to discuss about the origins of High Life because there were some theories developing that it came from Nigeria. And I was the documents I have go back 15 years before any Nigerian documents with the word High Life on it, like a newspaper and so on. So it definitely seemed to have developed in Ghana and then spread. But of course, Nigeria had its equivalent to High Life. They called it native blues or Juju music. But the High Life as we know it today, and as the Nigerians know it, originally came from Ghana. I can give you the date. 1925 is the first time we see the evidence of the word high life as a musical genre in print.
1925.
1925. And the first time we see it in print in Nigeria is 1938. And it's in connection with a visit by the Cape Coast Sugar Babies. Well, the Cape Coast Sugar Babies come from Ghana, playing high life. And even there was an earlier type of high life that came from Ghana to Nigeria, known as Konkoma high life, which is a sort of a poor man's high life, played without guitars and expensive instruments, just played on percussion. So that also came to Nigeria in the 1930s and 40s, I think.
That's some good education there. But what does it mean to us as Ghanaians when finally UNESCO lists high life as intangible cultural heritage?
Well, it has so many positive things. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's positive feedback. It's for the country generally. But I can maybe explain, say, in the case of, let's take a country like Trinidad. There's a lot of money. If we talk about the economic side of matters, the Trinidadian calypso was created in Trinidad around about the same time that High Life, maybe a little bit earlier than High Life. But because it's Trinidadian, a lot of tourists and researchers go to Trinidad. So sometimes it will increase the tourist trade to Ghana. If people interested in High Life, even if they go to Nigeria or somewhere else, you will always want to go to the roots of the music you're interested in. And if you know that it came from Ghana, you'll come to Ghana. So it will actually help the tourist industry. So that's the sort of economic benefit of it. But there are other psychological and creative benefits for the recognition of a Ghanaian musical genre globally. I mean, as of yet in Ghana, maybe I can tell you this because most people don't know. On Wednesday, this very Wednesday, the music department at the University of Ghana is going to set up a High Life Center. And I've been involved with this with some of my students. And I'm so happy about this because there's never been in any university in Ghana anything dedicated to High Life music. Yet it's Ghana's homegrown music. So it'd be a bit like supposing you went to America and you were interested in jazz, and you went to all the American universities and said, oh, where is your jazz center? And the Americans told you, we don't have anything like that. Wouldn't you be surprised? So luckily on Wednesday, we're going to get a High Life Center at the university. So better late than never.
Awesome.
So all these positive things are happening at the same time. So the UNESCO decision
Great.
Elevate, and then the university, and also the university teaches High Life, of course. I mean, I was teaching High Life music and High Life guitar in Legon in the late 1990s. And I think Kwame Mensah was teaching High Life guitar at Cape Coast, and Konimo was teaching High Life guitar in Kumasi. So, but these things, it's gradually coming to sometimes things take time to mature. And it's good for the younger musicians because whether you're a hip lifer or an Afrobeats musician, a lot of the things that the youth are using are actually derived from High Life. For instance, Jammer hip life, the word Jammer, is actually High Life rhythms.
The GQ type of music.
Life. So they call it, when it came up with Hush Hush Studio in the around about 2000. And the youth at that time didn't want to use the word High Life because it was colonial, like colonial mentality, old people. So they simply did away with the word High Life, hip life, and substituted the word Jammer, hip life.
That's
but it's in fact it's High Life. The rhythm is High Life. It's ba 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 ba.
Yeah.
Ba, ba. Well, it's one of the High Life rhythms, not the whole of High Life, but it's one of the rhythms.
Prof, that's some good education right there. But Uncle Ken here, Ken Adi, who is host of Jazz on Joy, wants to ask you a question before we let you go. Yeah, Uncle Ken.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, Ken.
Yes, you listed Osibisa as part of the groups that kept High Life in the annals of world music. But I ask a question. Why did Osibisa as a group describe...
I think, Ken, there's a difference between Osibisa, the band,
and
The
Sibi
Osibi
Saba.
Osibi Saba. Oh, okay.
Osibi Saba
Okay.
rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I once asked Teddy, say about where did they get the name Osibisa, and I said,
Right.
surely you got it from the word Sibi Saba.
Yeah.
He didn't really answer me, but I suspect that the word Osibi Saba, as in the popular band of the 70s,
Right.
got its original name for one of the oldest names for High Life, which is
Right.
the fancy name.
Okay.
Sibi Saba.
I have
And-
heard
yeah.
a lot of Ghanaians also speak to the fact that Osibisa is a high life band. I've heard a lot of Ghanaians, not you per se, but a lot of Ghanaians describe Osibisa as a high life band. And I ask myself, why did Osibisa describe their music as crisscross rhythms that explode with happiness?
Yes.
And
that's-
again, they are described as an Afro rock band and include 3 musicians from the West Indies in its initial setup,
Yes, and one from Nigeria.
and one
Well,
from Nigeria as well,
yeah.
as well as the Ghanaians.
Ghanaians
So
were the
my
were the main ones.
my
yeah.
question is, those Ghanaians who, when they are speaking about high life and
Mm-hmm.
try to include Osibisa as a high life band, are they right
yes.
in doing so?
Well, the way I look at it is that all 3 of the musicians, the Ghanaian musicians and the founders of Osibisa, were trained in Ghanaian high life bands.
Exactly.
Or led them. So they came through high life. I mean, the best way I can describe it is that Afro rock is a type of child of high life, but it was created when the musicians were in London and they wanted to adapt to the rock music
Right.
of the European youth at the time. So they sort of modified their high life. But, I mean, music for gong gong, for instance, has a typical high life rhythm.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I wouldn't class Osibisa as a high life as such, but as a type of fusion music with high life plus rock. It's the same with Fela Kuti
Right.
in Nigeria. He did the same thing. He was a high life musician, always coming to Ghana. He was popular in Ghana before he was popular in Nigeria. A lot of people don't realize this. But when he invented the Afrobeat, he started with high life, then he put a lot of jazz into it, and then he put soul music. But he started as a high life musician. So I would say that high life is the mother, at least one parent,
Right.
of Afrobeat of Nigeria and Afro rock of Ghana. So in that way, high life comes into the mix, because high life is the mother, if I can put it that way, or
Thank
the
you.
father, if you like.
Thank you so much, Prof. Collins. I think we need one more question from Amandiba. Amandiba is also here and he wants to ask a question. Amandiba.
Greetings.
Hey, Amanzaba, how? Long time.
Fine. Yes. I don't need your services now. If I need it, you see me.
Yeah.
That's how we relate. But now, Prof, let me ask you this question: at what point did we introduce Seprewa into
high life?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, quite recently. It was Konimo who did that.
But-
I think with a musician called Little Noah. He
Okay.
brought the Seprewa. There is a relationship between high life and the Seprewa.
Yeah.
When there are 2 relationships. One is the Seprewa today, as played by Oseo Koranchi and Little Noah, who's in Australia now.
Yeah.
They are modern people in the modern era. When I say, because I'm old, I'm nearly 80. For me, when I'm talking about the 1960s, that's modern. Anyway, since that time, that's how the Seprewa came in to the current form of, with some highlight musicians at least. But there is a more ancient relationship between the guitar and the Seprewa. When the guitar, the Sibi Saba guitar of the Fantis, moved into the villages in Ashanti and Kwau and Brongahafu and so on, it met this ancient instrument, that is the Seprewa, which is no longer in use, of course.
So that's
And so the
my
guitar
reason.
to-
Prof, just a
What?
second, please. My reason for asking is that the Seprewa sounds like our, Spanish or acoustic guitars, right? And
Yes,
so
very
if we were doing our palm wine music at that time, Why weren't we playing the sepriwa? Because it's an ancient instrument. I just want to know, because the argument is we were taught.
The guitar.
Yes, you understand. So if we had something similar to it, it means we had an idea, at least for that will work like the guitar. So I'm wondering why we haven't seen sepriwa. It's not visible at all when it comes to the narrative, and I don't know.
I think it's because when the guitar was introduced and then Ghanaianized by Kwame Asari and others, they weren't using the sepriwa at that time. The sepriwa was in the villages, but they weren't using it on the coast. They were using the guitar. But when the guitar was taken to the villages in the 1920s and 30s, it met the sepriwa. And then there was a crossover between the guitar and the sepriwa, which resulted in the Adonson style, which is that's a more ancient sepriwa style of music. And so if you listen to the Adonson style, it's modal. It doesn't follow Western chord progressions and so on. So it wasn't that High Life started with the sepriwa and then was replaced by the guitar. High Life started with the guitar and then absorbed features of the sepriwa.
Okay.
This is back in the 1930s I'm talking about.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor John Collins. We'd have to get you here for one-on-one or one-to-one for a conversation. Thanks so much for your time and your education on High Life music. We'll get to you some other time. So that was Professor John Collins, who is an ethnomusicologist, telling us about High Life and how it all started. Now, let me come back to Christopher before I come to you, Daddy Bosco, GMJ, and Uncle Ken, and Amanziba. All right, so you were telling us about the process, all the things you've gone through to make sure that High Life gets listed by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. And you were mentioning a nomination dossier. So we went to Daddy Bosco, and then he gave us some information there. So from that, where do we go?
Yes. So after the dossier, and I'm very happy because Daddy Bosco tells me Professor John Collins was included in the process because we
and Dr. Kwesi Owusu.
Okay.
Yes, because we need people like that who have detailed knowledge about the history of High Life, because we need to establish that, as I said, so that we don't have any contestations coming from who is the owner, where it originated from, and all that. All these idiosyncrasies must come out clearly. For example, as Prof mentioned, the introduction of certain things, we must establish that. Now, after we have the nomination dossier, it's going to be evaluated by a group of experts within UNESCO's, a group of experts that the UNESCO World Health Convention will consult to evaluate that. Mm-hmm. They're going to evaluate it and then see whether there's similarity somewhere or somebody's raising an objection, to the fact that we also have High Life.
Have you gotten to that stage yet?
We haven't. Like he said, after we did the inventory, we had the opportunity for the following year to list an element.
All right.
And then as a country or as a state party, we have the opportunity to list only one element.
All right.
And already we're preparing for Kente and then High Life also came in. So Kente had advanced, and there were a lot of conversation about Kente because Kente has been prominent within the UNESCO sector, and then, the former President Kufuor presented Kente Stoke, at UNESCO, and mostly we present Kente Stoke to our dignitaries and all that. So we had to proceed on with Kente and then do that for High Life the following year.
Yeah.
So the nomination dossier, as I'm told, had already been prepared, but we are waiting for the next year's cycle. So the evaluators will evaluate the nomination dossier, then it will be sent to a committee called Intergovernmental Committee.
All right.
Then they will look at it. Between that, the evaluators will come to you if there are issues. If you are supposed to bring some.
So we'll do that in September.
In
So it meets the October deadline.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if there are issues, when they evaluate it, they say, okay, we don't understand this aspect. Can you bring us, further and better particulars or information. Okay, the video you submitted is not so clear. Can you bring other videos? Or it depends on what they will request from you based on their evaluation. Then following that, it will go to the Intergovernmental Committee, where the committee will finally approve that truly Ghana has succeeded in describing that.
So when you mentioned that some reports had it that we had been listed already, Uncle Amandiba said that maybe the people were being optimistic, they were hopeful. Should we be hopeful that it will be listed? We are at a certain stage yet. No country has come out to contest yet.
Yes. So we
has there been any?
No, not yet. But should I say that? Should I say this? Somebody I will leave unnamed mentioned to me that we have to consider listening with Nigeria, and that the Nigerians. There's a professor who have done a lot of work.
That's Professor Collins' friend.
Yes, in Nigeria, and he has a lot of information about high life in Nigeria. But as I said, and listening to Prof, Prof is establishing some historical facts that maybe cannot be contested. Which should be our strength. Okay, it should be our strength because in the dossier when Prof said that high life went to Nigeria in 1938. It was already in Ghana. All these must be in the dossier. Then ownership, we can claim ownership to that. But UNESCO is a diplomatic organization. Now, if Nigeria comes in, it's okay, because UNESCO is not going to force it down the truth of Nigeria and say, it's for Ghana. So it's okay, Ghana and Nigeria, you have to mediate. Then you sit around the table and say, okay, what are the similarities? What are the, and Prof, and I think my father Masba mentioned something, because we didn't have colonial borders.
Then.
So there's this, what we call shared heritage. People were moving. And music and culture, culture itself migrates, it moves. So.
What addresses
the
entire, I would not call it debacle, but let's say if it is an argument or a debate. Scan around the entire country. For instance, let me just give you an example of the northern region. Let's say Tamale, one evening. Just walk around. Every community has its own band. I mean, manufactured locally, and they are really playing beautiful music
from this side of
that side.
Wow.
Come to the Volta region. Come to as for Greater Accra, because it's cosmopolitan. Look, we used to live where the Nigerians were, the Liberians, from Jamestown coming down to Adempo and all those places. The Nigerians were there. I remember they were doing their cultural programs on Sundays evening, and So I'm saying that from Kolegono, Wamprobi, Choco, you will find so many groups playing Malogo groups. Malogo came out of Tumbe, right? It was a faster tempo of Malogo, faster version of Malogo. So you see, when I hear people trying to borrow a little from us, I get a little bit agitated, because you see, it's something, high life is something that we can share with the world, but it is our entitlement.
Ours.
But would you call those people scroungers? Do you know who a scrounger?
No, you see,
no, it will not be too much. Because who is a scrounger?
Boss.
A scrounger is somebody that feeds on other people's entitlement.
But even the high life you're talking about, we had influences from the West as well.
There's something I want to ask.
The influences that we're talking about, primarily,
Yeah.
was based on the instruments that we use.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, for instance, We were singing those songs long time ago. When we added the instruments to it, then it became.
When you talk about instruments, you're talking about the guitars.
I'm talking about the guitars,
the
Western, the foreign instruments, the pianos,
yes,
and
the
stuff
pianos.
like that.
That's right.
So I will sum it up by saying that Professor Collins said it, but I will say that at that point, when we're doing the palm wine music and stuff, it was low life. Because it belonged to
it was for the street.
Exactly.
You're definitely
But
right.
when we gained admission into the ballroom, it became higher.
Those instruments.
There's something
Exactly.
Amanziba said that
Yeah.
I think has been a fundamental truth that we've been avoiding.
Great.
And my generation fell to that trap. I think Ghanaians, our hospitality at some point is a blessing and a curse to me. Because that's how come we overshare stuff. We are too, what's the word? We open too much.
Liberal.
We are too liberal. And we don't mind, a typical Ghanaian home don't mind giving the best of the room to a traveler.
The best food.
The best of the food, the best of the seat to a traveler. You see what he's saying? What clearly it means is that because of our hospitality, anybody who comes, we share with them freely without worrying about ownership.
Yeah.
Even though we are sharing with you, we need you to know that it belongs to us. We were never bothered about that. To the extent that our food, our drinks, our way of dressing, our everything, we shared it so much so that I'm even wondering how we are going to even be able to defend some of this thing per the presentation he's given.
No,
if not for
Professor.
Wait 1 second. Do you know who introduced Kenke into Nigeria?
No. Who did? Do you know?
I don't know.
Listen, us.
Okay.
They weren't grinding their pepper like we. If you grind your pepper, they say, "Hey, Omogana, you chop raw vegetable." You understand? There were so many things that we took there, and they must be protected. Our way of life is part of our culture. The food we eat, the way we dress, fufu. How many? Who pounds fufu like us? We have different ways of pounding fufu. But Charlie, I think
so. That brings to the fact that I'm saying that our lifestyle also hasn't. It's not lifestyle. Our overly being nice hasn't helped us in protecting our heritage. Because Daddy Bosco will tell you something. I came from the generation where we started mixing dancehall into her life.
Yeah.
I am actually I can actually tell you for a fact that Samini repertoire bringing her life and all of that, I can tell you 80% came from me. You understand? But how did that happen? Our system here accepts everything except our own.
Thank you.
Our system here loves everything except what we are made of. I'll be honest with you. Let's start speaking the truth. You remember I was telling you that I love foreign music so much. I'll be listening to Kofi Kumbilson and buy TDK and record them, and I was feeling that I knew music better than my high life instrumentalist colleague because I was playing jazz, I was playing all this foreign Bram McKnight, Boys to Men, and so I felt psychologically I was made to feel like music better than my colleagues. Until Keke started telling me that your craft must serve your environment.
Yeah.
So I had to start finding out what the rudiment of her life was. Since I already know music, I could easily blend into it.
Sure.
But then the orientation was like the foreign stuff was better than ours.
Master, all you're talking, this plenty talk, it is just that we are supposed to know that local is international.
Great.
No. Look, when you hear Salif Keita and all Umu Sangari, and what do they sing? What do they play?
Their culture.
So they don't even struggle
to push themselves. We will have to struggle. We have to look at some fierce collaborations out there in Alaska, and find
Constant. When I'm in the studio, I'm being
But
told
you
that we to go international. And the word international just means something that's cross boundary.
Who advertises your Kagari? But
It
do
just
you know the
means-
patronage it has?
All right. I'll come back to all of you, but let's go to the phone lines and speak to somebody who has been very instrumental, if you like. She is one of the people who are making sure this whole UNESCO thing comes to fruition. She is the executive director of the National Folklore Board, Bernice and Kuma. Let me say good evening to her. Good evening, madam.
Evening.
I hope you are doing.
Good evening.
Good evening. I hope you are doing well.
I'm doing very well.
Thanks for your time this evening, and we are happy that you've joined us for this conversation. Now, we've been talking about UNESCO's decision or intention to list High Life as Ghana's cultural, intangible cultural heritage. You have been very involved in this whole thing, in this whole move. Tell us, what has been the process? Give us an update of the whole process.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening to our cherished listeners. A lot of discussions, or the panel members have talked about it. The process started because we needed to build capacity for the people in the country, Ghana, to understand actually what the opportunities that are available for us at the UNESCO. And so we National Folklore Board applied for a sponsorship we send the application to UNESCO, and the government of France fortunately supported Ghana. And so we started building capacity, how we should understand the 2003 UNESCO Convention, inviting people across the 16 region to be part of it. And so after that capacity building, a lot of people understood what Ghana stand to gain out of this whole convention. And so, as Chris rightly said, the first stage for us to put in application is to have a national register. It's a very sad story that till date, Ghana, we don't have even one element in our credit. So it becomes a very much passion for me to work and then ensure that Ghana too, we are recognized. As a government institution, we are not supposed to work alone. So we need to collaborate with other institutions that came on board, a cultural forum, Professor Collins, who is a historian and have a lot of information concerning the high life music, and then UNESCO. So we have to put a committee in place. And so that's where we started. But at the National Folklore Board level, we made sure we identify all the cultural elements that we have that needed safeguarding. And we have developed that register. And then High Life is one of them. And after having the register, we have to prove to UNESCO that we have qualified, that we can put in the application. And so we put in the application. And now we got a letter from UNESCO this year asking Ghana if really we want to list High Life as originated from Ghana. Immediately we responded that yes, Ghana is ready and all our informations are very accurate, and so we submitted that. We need to have a video to support the write-up, the historical facts that we have submitted to UNESCO, and that will be done in 15th of October this year, finally, and hopefully next year that recognition will be given to us based on the historical fact that Professor Collins has given to us by writing, and also through a video interview. We will support all that information he even gave to us today with our application, and so that no country can come and fight Ghana that high life do not originate from Ghana. We are passionate about this because Ghana will be given global recognition if finally high life is credited to us as our intangible cultural heritage. Apart from that, it creates a bigger platform for the artists. And then also, we will have a lot of tourists that will visit the country, and that will create a job for the economy because they will spend and the money will circulate, and then the industry players will be a beneficiary from this high life if finally the recognition is given to us. So as National Folklore Board, we are not giving up, and I know all our stakeholders, Cultural Forum, Daddy Bosco, Mr. Diallo, I have to say that is one of a man who ever, anytime he sees me at any event, he says, oh, when are you going to? So he was one of the force behind this whole initiative that where we have reached today. So hopefully, next year, all things being equal, Ghana is going to claim the ownership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernice and Kuma. Thanks so much for your time this evening. We are hard pressed for time, so I'm afraid. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Let's go for a breather. When we come back, we are continuing the discussion. Apart from listing High Life as UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage, how else do we promote and preserve the genre? We are right back.
Introducing Pick 4 from Game Park Games, the easiest lottery to play and win. Pick 4 numbers from 0 to 9 up to 3 times a day to become one of our daily winners. More moolah, more power. Play online at www.gameparkgames.com or dial *946# to play. Game Park Games is regulated by the National Lottery Authority, not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Pick 4 from Game Park Games. More moolah, more power.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma.
Eh?
The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go. Everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Exciting times indeed. No need to stress about always using your laptops or desktops to get news on your favorite news portal, myjoyonline.com. Life becomes easy with Joy. We've got you covered. Simply go to your app store on your mobile phone and download our new My Joy Online app, conveniently designed to enhance your reading experience. Watch and listen to your favorite MGO shows and stay updated with our political, entertainment, sports, business, lifestyle, and research stories. Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible.
Still on Joy 99.7 FM, the Superstation. This is Showbiz A to Z. My name is Kwame Dazi. Show brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. Now say goodbye to memorizing 1,001 short codes. Experience a complete one-click access to all MTN services with my MTN app. You can now check your airtime, data, and Momo balance. Buy bundles with airtime off from your Momo wallet. Monitor your data usage and make calls. Access your MTN Momo account and also do so much more, all with my MTN app. So download my MTN app from the App Store, Google Play Store. and experience a super convenient way to do the things you love on your favorite network, MTN. So what are we doing today? We've been talking about high life music, talking about having a brighter day, giving yourself hope. You need to listen to the Pentecost Hour every Sunday on Joy 99.7 FM at 1:30 p.m. On Mondays on Hits FM 5:30 a.m. Joy Prime on Saturdays 7 a.m. So tune in every Sunday, Monday, Saturday as Apostle Eric Nyameche brings you life-transforming truth that nourishes the soul, ignites passion, and restores hope in the nations. Church of Pentecost, we are possessing the nations for the Lord. Now coming back in here to pick final thoughts, but we're looking at beyond UNESCO. I'll come back to you, Wecha, but beyond UNESCO, how do we preserve high life? How do we promote high life? We know there are other genres, reggae, we have hip life, we have dancehall. Everybody can't do high life music. Some people need to do other genres, but high life is one of our products. How do we preserve it? Is it by strictly going by the old type of high life or by doing fusions? How do we do that? Let me go to the music producer. He's been cooking the music in the studio. JMJ, what do you think is the surest way of preserving high life music so that we don't lose the DNA?
Pride to the word high life, to our generation. That would help them to not shy away regardless of what type of music they are doing.
Good.
That's the first thing. So that should you decide to blend reggae into high life, form something, still call it high life. That's, for me, that's the only way. That's but right. if because let me speak for myself, among our colleagues, when you say high life, it's something they are looking down upon. There's no pride, there's no pride to high life among our current creatives. Do you understand me? They feel like a kolo a krasenyama chale ye nie bio we call level way. But so if we to answer you, we need to start bringing pride back to the word high life. We need to let them understand what high life means. Today, ask Daddy Bosco if there's 3 events in Ghana now. One, a pure high life stage. Another stage, Afrobeat. Another stage, the Samini and Stoneboy Wale their stage. Yeah. Tell me where the crowd will be. The reason is not only because of the artist, but even the branding, the name. Because we have allowed people to feel, our creatives to feel like high life ain't krasinyama. They also sometimes at the point to feel like, you have to sing in a particular dialect before it's high life. There are a lot of unresolved questions, but for time we can't get into that one. But I'm speaking on their behalf when I'm with them. When an artist comes to the studio and you load a high life beat, the impression is different. Unless he's already a high lifer. All background okutane guitar or on the progressions, you are not going to play a beat for him to come and pick. No, because high life don't go that way. They compose the song before they meet you. But with the current level, it's a different thing. So to answer you, we need to first bring back pride to our own, which is the high life. So that anything, whether Sarkodie is trapping, doing whatever, it should still fall under high life. When Stone or Samini or Shatawale is doing whatever, they should still fall under high life. Once we make that mistake, let everybody feel free. Let everybody feel free. If Nigeria had allowed every other genre of music to feel free, Afrobeat wouldn't have had all the tags, as many as it got, for the world to get attention to it. So guess what? If anybody mentions Ghana and he types Ghana music and he sees high life, everywhere high life, and then another time, they type, Afrobeat, Ghanaian Afropop, high life this, high life, the bang. How long will it take before? Because it means that high life is now competing with other genres, which are already far ahead of us, which we don't even own to. So that question itself the answer, I mean, the question, it means that if we really want to move, how is it that I'm sitting here 20 years ago? I was in a studio where they were producing Amanziba.
Yeah.
Today I'm seated here. I'm feeling sad because most of the things I have done, I didn't follow what he started.
Okay.
And only because I felt like the foreign things is better than. Because, and back to you people to radio. If you check your programming,
give it to us, baby.
When you look at the programs they do, they even put premium on some particular presenters because both foreign songs, they are eye open.
I play foreign songs.
Yeah. So okay, you also feel and then you know what? When it's time for High Life, watch the presenter.
Uncle Ken, I'll come to you very
soon.
Come
to me, let me defend myself.
When you've been a programs manager here, so you know what I'm talking about. When it comes to High Life selector, look at the respect they even give to the person playing High Life. Look at his airtime. So the thing is systematical. It's not only from the artist.
Okay.
You guys also there is swag when Black is here and he's playing the Jarus and all of that.
It's not also about what is in vogue. It's about time.
That is your problem. That is why what will be
is
in
it
vogue.
Not what the people dictate for us?
That is why what will be in vogue would always overtake yours because you have to make yours to be vogue.
Great.
Kwame.
Great. Uncle Ken, please, the way you hit up, please relax for me small. Let me go to the High Life musician. I want to know. And Amanziba is a veteran High Life artist. And most times what I hear from the older folk in High Life, when you see or you hear a young Ghanaian artist do something that is a bit of a modern form of High Life, when you're High Life, it doesn't have this element, so it's not High Life. Is it not about the older folk also discouraging the younger ones from taking the High Life tag on, because when they try to modernize the genre, you say they have drifted from the rudiments?
Uncle, to answer that, it's a lie. The truth is that we don't even feel proud about it. See, when Bisakede started this defending High Life, you know Uman, the guy who has been taken to the Francophone country.
Yeah.
As of now, I can tell you as a fact, Bisakede has been playing international shows more than any of the other guys because he has been defending.
But JMJ, Kwame Eugene does High Life, and sometimes you hear some people say, "Oh, now where you High Life?"
And that also come back to you people. You are the people who said those kind of questions. Oh, and so is this one High Life? You won't go to Jamaica. You won't go to Jamaica and listen to their radio, and the presenter will create any platform for you to look down on any element of their culture. But we do that.
I have seen.
We are constantly looking, and then we ask silly questions.
No.
So is this one also High Life?
JMJ, I have heard veteran High Life musicians denigrate the younger ones, the younger High Life artists coming, just because they don't do exactly the same style as. Let me come to Amanziba. Lawyer, Tribleo, Amanziba, Ofane Wiemo.
You know, I don't belong to the school that discourage people. I will always want to encourage people. But the fact of the matter is, I can encourage you without my involvement. My encouragement will come from the fact that I inspire a lot of people. Up till now, everybody wants to do something that gets to the level of Wagbajeke. Wagbajeke is just a local song. It's just a local rhythm. I have actually seen this. Look, the rhythms that we have here, most of the songs that we play, I brought the guitar, but there will not be time. But most of the songs that we churn out, even the big High Life stuff, all based on the do fa so, do fa so. But you see, your creativity will make you use the same cordial progression,
but the result is different.
Because you see, we have our unique way of singing. Charlie, we just don't get up and be, Beethoven and then, Whitney Houston and that kind of. You don't apply that when you are doing a local song.
Tomo Blofo you need like my logo.
Oh.
You understand? So
So,
yeah, all I'm saying is that, look, we have to be very conscious of the fact that we have something. And that if we just let it loose, like, everybody walks into this continent and we have white people and all of these people, this place does not belong to any one of them. It belongs to us. But the point is that the African, intrinsically, is not a protector of his heritage. Otherwise, nobody will be claiming Egypt by now. We should be claiming Egypt. Otherwise, nobody will be any other person other than war complexion should not be claiming anything here. But typically, it is with us Ghanaians. When things happen, Charlie, this is in vogue, like you said. Listen, vogue most of the time has no substance. You're following people. There's a style. You're following it. What are you getting from it? I can follow a trend. Listen, everybody can be influenced by anything musically. Okay. The rhythm, basically the kick and stuff like that, is hip hop. But the point is, I sang like a Ghanaian. We wrote like a Ghanaian.
We'll give you royalties, don't worry. Oh, fine. Kind of saying that was a kind of so you are done. Oh, fine. Bosco, Bosco. Finally, before we go, how else do we preserve the Ghanaian high life that we have? Okay, so please, I beg 1 minute. I beg.
In Jamaica, they institutionalized the National Song Festival. It's a reggae thing. Buju came from prison, won it. If we're talking about instilling pride, the nation has to establish a national high life contest, and the prize has to be aspirational. Low hanging fruit.
And then again, Charlie, again, briefly, I think that most of the programs that you have, all of these big international shows that you have, please present every aspect of Ghanaian music.
Ghanaian music. I love that.
That's
Thank you
all.
very much.
Let the hip lifers hip life. Let the
UNESCO.
reggae.
UNESCO. Yeah. Before I go, UNESCO. So, what should we expect from UNESCO?
Well, so what UNESCO is doing is just helping us. It's giving us a platform for us to give high life and international recognition. And that's what the benefit we're going to get from that, the protection and safeguarding of high life, because oftentimes we talk about the fact that high life is going extinct, and over time we may not get the younger generation, my people, to sing high life. Now, it is also the responsibility of the state, as he said, because UNESCO is giving you a platform, but it's safeguarding is the responsibility of the member state. So, do we have to have a high life village? A high life music, a high life like what is happening in Legon. High life
before you spend money in creating a high life village, when you get to the airport, hear high life music being played at all the places. That is you.
How about saying hear Ghanaian music, including high life?
Once you hear Ghanaian, you hear other foreign music.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying that.
Maybe
you're concluding.
So it gives it international recognition, so that. And the list is intangible cultural heritage, representative list of intangible heritage. So we are saying that Ghana, when you mention high life, we are represented by high life on the international, level. You check high life, you mention high life, Ghana. All right. So the state should declare high life as a national heritage.
That's it.
That in Ghana, we will appreciate high life.
Exactly.
Then we can have a lot of, respect and appreciation for high life. Then it can go international.
Thank you very much, Chris. Let me go to Uncle Ken. Uncle Ken.
Don't come to me. Forget me. You stopped me from making my point when I wanted to. And you went all around, and I have 1 minute to make a point. I don't have any point to make. Thank you.
Uncle Ken.
Uncle Ken has made his point. He doesn't have any point to make.
I don't have any point to make.
Uncle Ken, we beg you. Somebody said, good to see Uncle Ken on YouTube. Hello, Uncle Ken, from Stephen Damson in Ohio. Uncle Ken.
What do you think that's going to do to me?
Uncle Ken.
You see, this is how high life is. So it's blunt. It's play.
You accuse me of having having one day a week, 2 hours in a week of playing alternative music as being something that is stopping you from promoting high life. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can't accuse me of having 2 hours in a week
we are sorry,
promoting other forms of music for listeners to enjoy.
Thank you, Uncle
The people are
sorry.
advertising local herb.
Thank you very much, Uncle Ken.